we use a row comb before we trim. You have to press all the hairs in the growth direction of its hairs and comb them out. The first is the back, then from its tail contact to the waist on the back. I can comb all the hairs out from back to front or from left to right. And then his back ends. And what we did was we brushed the outside of his thighs. Each layer of hair unfolds. It starts at the bottom of the hair and comes out. Then be sure to remember, he combs it out according to the growth direction of the hair stream, okay? It's all the center surface in the middle to comb it out. And then when it's over, so there's a flying joint in this place, it's a very important place. Then comb the hair out from the bottom to the direction of the flying knot. Then the hair on the flying knot part is round. So I just comb it out in the shape of a circle, and then from here to here is where we have a vertical plane of 90 degrees. Then it is also exported from the knee fossa to the ischium in this way. Then it is also from the ground on the outside of his thighs to go out first and enter his center surface first. And when it's over, the center surface of the front of the hind leg is also combed out from the bottom. After combing to the waist, then in this way, the hair on its hind legs will be combed. Turn the hair over with your hands, every layer of hair from the bottom. Pull it from the bottom out to comb all its hair out. In this way, our hair will be pulled out the same from the innermost to the outside. Otherwise, it's rolled inside. The fur on the outside is very fluffy, but it's very curly inside. In this case, our effect will not be good. So we have to start from the bottom and pull it out. In fact, this is exactly the same as our real dog's grooming. The inside is also very important. Also, turn the hair over. Each layer of hair is completely straightened. Can't curl. Then we comb its hair in this way. And this piece has a very important place. It's a flying knot. That flying knot here, we compress a little bit with a comb. Then this is the position of the flying knot. The pruning starts now. What about when we're going to trim? That is, we start from the outside of it first. The outer legs want you to be horizontal with the tabletop to cut our first line. Then I used a curved scissor. Because as a lamb shape, their feet must be exposed. A central surface on the outside of the thigh, this place on the outermost side. I'll use scissors to cut out its outer center surface first. Okay, so if we are the ram shape, it's at our feet, it must be lit up. If this foot is buried in the middle of this hair, it will not work. Okay, so our first step is that the line under our feet is ready from the level of the table. The second step, we're going to his knee, to the seam of his toes. The center surface of the center of gravity should be cut with an inclined surface for him. Okay, let's see where his toes are first. Okay, sweep off any excess hair. Come again, because the poodle is in the shape of ram. The hairs of this place are fixed between his fingers. The seam of his fingers to his knee is an oblique angle of 45 degrees. After he cut this, he's in a fixed position. It's the knee joint where their fingers are sewing to him. So when I cut it, I must let him cut enough hair above the seam of this finger. So this is also a more important point of our ram shape. Then the center surface of our front to the outer thigh, the surface perpendicular to the tabletop, is done. What about our legs? Is it one? This sort of curved shape. But even though it is a curve, it's still round, circular, past. So we are at this angle between this surface and this surface. We take the edges off it. And then from this face, the edges and corners are on the central face. If we wrap the circle like this, its legs are round and the base part is round. So that's one angular face of it. And then our R is to use the important place. It's our edges and corners. That is, the surface of the envelope should be smaller than its center surface. Okay? And then when we're done, we can circle it. Now, that's where we start. It's done ahead. The scissor mouth can be opened a little smaller. We are in this position because we must pay attention to safety at its feet. Dogs are very sensitive to their feet. So even though we are model dogs, we still have to trim it with this concept because touching its feet is ours. Dogs are the most sensitive. After that, the base part and the round part of my leg have been made on the outside and front. Then I'll start making its backside first. What about our backyard? It's a very, very important joint in this place. It's our flying joint, flying joints. Then the hair follicles in this place have knees. I will finish the position of the knee socket. I combed all the hair out of the hock. Comb it out. It is positive when combing. The backside is combed back. On both sides, you must comb it in both directions. After combing, I compacted it gently with my comb. You can't make it a virtual one. Then after this, the position of my flying knot has been located. Then I'll start cutting it with scissors. Now, well, it's an angle of 45 degrees from here to our heel. I'm going to cut this center face on the front and back of it first, cut it to the position of my heel, and then there's the center face directly behind it. Then they are also an oblique relationship of 45 degrees. Because this also belongs to a thickness, our hawk, the hair of the hawk is very, very precious. The one I told the hawk hair not to fall down, then I have to rely on my slope. So by this inclined plane, so this slope must be done well, okay? When we're done, I'm going to cut it down to the bottom, okay? And then this is also at an angle parallel to my desktop. Okay, so this slope is also called thickness. After finishing, I will make it into a circle. It's a circle, so make it round. So I'd probably do a 45-degree tilt from corner to corner. The one received inside, such an effect. Okay, same effect. Stand in the back and lean in from here. Well, there's the round surface. Then slowly start to walk from the complaint surface to the center surface. After that, the three faces he just produced, all the two edges and corners were repaired by me. Just give it all to me and trim it into a thick one. This effect, the main thing about it is that the slope on the left is exactly the same as the slope on the right. All right, after you've done this, we're going to do the inner center surface of it. What about the thickness on the outside now, after the base part is all done? I press this type on the outside, cut to the center surface of the inside. And then also at the bottom, my scissors are flat. Then slowly move forward to wrap the round surface. And then when it's over, from behind, and the edges and corners generated by the sides modified. So the base of each corner, after the bases for the four corners of the four dogs are all done, we're going to trim it again because it will come out a display of a thickness. After this thickness comes out, I can't get this hair down. Therefore, the decoration of this place is very important. So we will now produce two corners. This is our base part parallel to the center surface of the tabletop. And when it's over, it's a 45-degree angle from the seam to the knee. And then a 45-degree angle from the heel to the hock. It's 45 degrees. 45 degrees, a flat surface, the fur of this place. Yeah, round. That's the hock part, round. I just started with three sides, after modifying the two edges and corners generated from the three faces. And it ends up being circular. We want to see it as a circle from above. Okay, so let's start cutting its back now. All the hair has been combed out just now. And then from the tail junction, the front of the tail, I can take a little piece of hair. For example, I can use it as a tail. This is what we teach. Yes, even the real dog style is exactly the same. My first point before the tail contact, because I'm going to start here, then it's flat down to the neck. So I turn this hypothesis over. Scissors go straight forward from left to right. The effect I want The back is as flat as my desktop. And from my point of view, I usually can't see if it's cut flat or not. Be sure to go to the side to observe from the caudal junction towards his shoulder blade. After cutting, the scissors can be used from left to right to slightly enhance the flatness of the plane we just cut. Raise your elbow, then my scissors lay flat on his back after we open the shape. The speed of running scissors can be slightly slower, then we can make it flatter. Okay, so now from its tail junction to the tip of the ischium, it's an oblique surface at 30 degrees. Then the tip of my scissors is just at the end of it. Cut it in diagonally from the outside to the inside. From the outside in. This is my second look, okay? The third side, that is to say, from the tip of his ischium to the knee, fossa, he is a vertical to the tabletop. One by one, my scissors are reversed. Find the tip of his ischium. Be sure to come in row by row. Don't cut too deep at once. You've got to get these joints right. To this side of the heart, this side, scissors also come in row by row. After cutting here, it goes down one layer, one more layer. Well, this place is a thickness. That's the length of my dog, and I use this place to locate that is its body length is at this position. Okay, so this position is done. I want to see from the side. Is this point of my knee socket right? Then the knee socket goes to this corner of the hock. It's an oblique relationship of 45 degrees. So my scissors cut right away. The tip of the knife is placed in the knee socket. Cut out a noodle. So he has two sides. So put the inside in a little bit. Then our flat back. The flat back parallel to the desktop is ready. So we've done a 30-degree angle from the caudal junction to the tip of our ischium, and then the 90-degree vertical from the tip of the ischium to the knee fossa is done. And then the 45-degree slope from this knee socket to the hock is done. So I'm coming from 90 degrees. Slow down a little bit in the knee socket and walk back. So let me enhance the visibility of our point. In this way, I will clearly see the tail contact from the side, the ischium, the knee, fossa, flying festival. After you do this, so I've got this general outline. Okay, so that's from the ischium to the knee socket. We have a 90-degree effect perpendicular to the tabletop. From then on, my scissors began to slowly change. Then don't open the scissors too big. This piece, what about this piece? It can be a little bigger. It's okay. Then what? Take that 45-degree slope off of it. In the future, this is also the point where I must see my knee socket very clearly from the side. At this point in the hock, the position of the ischium is enough. Then I now have the lateral center surface of the thigh from this point to this point. I'm going to cut a bevel, okay? So I'm standing in the back at this time from this point to this point. Then I may reverse the way to set the position first. My scissors made a bevel from the outside of his thigh, an effect of this center surface. In the future, I look at it from this angle, then I cut it from the reverse way. I might not get it clean, but my shape is positioned from the back. Then I went to his profile to refine. Refinement with the type 1 just opened. This is the center surface of the outer thigh. That is, the upper part of me can be hairy more. The wool below needs less repair because the structure of our dog is the front leg is upright. The back leg should be a little wider than the front leg. So I'm going to the bottom part. The hair must be repaired less. The above part needs more repair. Okay, so it's all one side. the overall surface of the outer thigh, and I'd circle it back and forward for a while. It becomes cylindrical. Let's take a look at the side effect of it in the back. Okay, so now the back side is done. The outer side is done, the edge between the two faces. Now to retouch, the scissors are at a 45-degree angle between the two sides. One such angle to remove that edge and corner for it. What about after this? It creates two edges, three sides. I want from the outside of the thigh. Slowly do this angular treatment of it. I'm going to take off the edges and corners. And this is the piece that goes round. Then go and do this first. Okay, now this is the place. It's from the outside to the side, and then the angular surface of 45 degrees, including angular surfaces of 30 degrees to 90 degrees. It's all going to be rounded off. So I'll start by making circles with edges and corners from 30 degrees to 90 degrees. We guarantee our 30 degrees. But what about the hair that punctures out of our edges and corners? Retouch it. Make it round. Okay, so this is our round noodles, 45 degrees around an angular surface. And this one, it's the treatment of this corner from the outside of the thigh to the back. And round out all the pointed angular parts. Because our shape is so shaped, then the shape can't have that sharp edge. Be sure to round it off. Okay, so now the dough wraps in this place are done. I'm going to make the round surface under it now. This is the place from the knee socket to the hock. There's also a rounded angular surface between the two surfaces of the outer thigh. When you do this, you have to cut it from the top. Go and cut under it because our legs are cylindrical. Is this him standing round? This is an oblique circle. So I had this place a structural change in his body. I just made a cylindrical effect diagonally. So the edges and corners on his side must be diagonal. Okay, so now is an oblique line from our point to this point. That is my inner oblique line. They are both horizontal. So when cutting these two dots on the inside of it, be sure to look at the outer slope of it. They must be diagonal. That's what I want inside and out. The center surface right in the middle. While doing this, be sure to look from behind. I'm going to open this shape first. That is to say, the shape it comes out of on the inside is the type of ABC. That is to say, the upper part of me is less repaired. The further down, if you repair it more, when you cut it, it is the center surface in the middle. After cutting, the scissors tilt in, remove the inner round surface together. So that's its legs. It's going to be cylindrical. So I'm going to remove the inner round surface together. Okay, so when I do this, people must stand behind to see. Then this must be Hitomi Kong. The outside is the horizontal line. So be sure to stand in the back and see to cut his, because the inside of his leg is a type A of ABC. Type A, then tilt the scissors in, remove the inner square and circle together, and then we're done. Because after the legs are spread, his hair on this section may be a little different from his outer hair. The hair on his inner side is going to be a little more than the outer side. The inner type A is ready. The diagonal line on the inside is level with the diagonal line on the outside. And when you're done, I'm going to watch my dog now. Is that because our dog refers to the reason for leaning out? The hair on the inside will be a little more than on the outside. So this piece is a central plane. What about this piece on the inside? I might ask him to cut a little more than the outside. That is a little more than here. In this way, in the future, the two of them are the center surface, and the surfaces on both sides must be the same. I had already cut this place at first, but in the later stage, I think the position of this fell down little by little. Then I might lift it up. After that is done, I will make it this place. It's tilted off here. It must be diagonal because this is its center surface. If it's flat, it's got to be tilted from here to here because it is round. That's Frank's state. Now I'm going from here to here. Tilt it off and it's round. It starts at the top. The scissors tilted inward. Okay, after the knee socket on the second inclined plane, because I don't want to see this side from my perspective. It has to be diagonally past this place. So my scissors are pointed up. I make it this inclined surface must be diagonal. Then I'm going to strengthen the outer thread again. The purpose of this is to make it three-dimensional and round. Then I'll start going now. And the tilt is done. After getting rid of these whiskers, the outer circumference of this leg is done. Then be sure to look from the back up, because I also have round noodles here. Well, I have exactly the same slope of the inner envelope. That's a slant, a flat slant. Therefore, the inner upper must be the same as the outer upper. And this one, from the back, okay, so now is this point from the knee socket to the hock. The point from the knee joint to the seam of the fingers is two horizontal lines. It must be the same. Then the knee fossa is an angle of 45 degrees from the knee joint. It's a 45-degree angle. So what about my place? It was just cut at a 45 degree. After cutting to this position of the knee joint, my scissors started to change. Walk towards the waist, make one of my second this line. And then this is from my perspective. One line after two lines come out. I stood in front of the dog and cut that face. Okay, tilt over, take the line I just opened. It's aside from my waist to his knees. The round surface on the inside. Okay, that's a face now. The second side, so it has a curve on its hind legs. Don't cut off the hair in this place. This is very important. Oki, the inner round surface. Okay, when it's all out, I started to round the edges of the outer thigh and the front side. This is the first face. It's them from my waist to his knee joint. This is a bevel. And then from the knee joint, and I started working on my second ram. It's the knee joint to the seam of the fingers. I did this when I first started. And then what I'm doing now is dealing with this edge from the outside to the front. Then this is its round surface. Then this is the round surface from the waist to the knee joint. I can make the angle a little bigger, but the knee goes to this position between its fingers to enclose the roundness. I must pack a little less, so there's very little hair loss. It is also the shape of the dog's leg. That is, its legs are spread out. So don't make the circle on the top too big. And then on this one, it has a waist and will also be round for us with this effect. It will affect a little bit. That is with my words. We're going to wrap it this way. Every time you turn a corner and turn to the outgoing line. Now, looking at this line from the side, we need to slow down. For example, I'm fast here, but every time I reach this line, I'm going to slow down a little bit. Then my line will be clear in the future. The center face of the front side of the leg stands upright. Then the center surface on the outside of the front leg brushes it all out again. Then the angular surface between the outer and front sides. That is, our round noodles are combed out. Then the center surface of the back of the front leg comes out. All the inner round surface to the outer round surface come out. The same thing, according to the growth direction of the yak, cut out all the center surface to the round surface of the inner leg. Okay, after taking the dog, let's cut the center surface in the middle on the outside of the thigh first. The shape is exactly the same. It's my feet that must be exposed. Okay, after cutting this, just start cutting his front. Okay, so now it's after the previous noodles are done. From the front to the side, I'm going to give my fingers distance. Come over here. Slowly circle in. Start with a circle in the middle, then slowly start to wrap the round noodles. To the outside, right in the middle, center face. This is the center surface of the outer side, which must be horizontal from the tabletop. The inner edge and corner surface of the base. after cutting the center surface. And this place is right in the middle of it. This one is flat, and then we start past the center plane. We will slowly wrap the circle up. When cutting his front leg, I had to find the tip of one of his breastbones at this location. What else am I going to divide? This distance above the elbow joint of his body, this distance below the elbow joint is a 1-to-1 ratio. And then on a 1-to-1 ratio, that's where the front of the elbow joint is. If it is his upper body, what about me? Right in the middle. It's the tip of his sternum. So I'm going to determine a shape of his leg. Now, the outside of my leg, that's the outside of the tip of my sternum. Come over here. Be sure to cut them one by one perpendicular to the tabletop. Then from the front, let's go to the center surface on the front side of his leg first. After the order is made, it has to be a very straight surface. Then this side is done. This is his center surface in the middle, and when you're done, I might start from this sternum, just like the beginning of this piece. That's where I'm going to do another 45-degree angle. Because his neck and face are shaved off, the hair on the neck is very short. So where from here? It's a bevel. So from here to mine, just now, it's shoulder width apart. The starting point of my hand, after one came here diagonally, from here is mine. That's the bottom half, the position of the lower half of the front leg. Then I'll show you this point again from the front. Do you have that up? Okay, I'll do it again inside. It's such a vamp. We can also start from the front. Finish the shape. What? The upper is done from the middle of the tip of the sternum. This is where my front legs start. It has to be very, very straight. It's perpendicular to the table. The outside of our front leg and the parts including the middle one. To highlight the shape of the letter H, a spot has now come out. It was shoulder width apart. That's where my hand started. Then he has a 45-degree angle above him. That's done. What about now? I'm going to do the point where his legs and body divide. That's the front of my elbow. The position of this point from the back to the elbow joint is in a 1-to-1 ratio to the ground of the elbow joint. When I find this point, the tip of my scissors, divide this point here first. Does that mean mine? The leg chest is over here. This is the position of his chest. The above is the position of his legs. So I made a dot with scissors. You don't need to study it first. We just have to get the straight leg right at this point. Okay? This position is where it belongs in front of the chest. So after my scissors had this point, scissors pointed down because his chest is put inside. This is where the front of his elbow is. This position is perpendicular to our desktop. Very straight. Then, if I am sure, and I rounded it up a little bit, including this side, it's perfectly fine to round it out a little bit. Okay, after setting this down, so this is his chest. So my scissors pointed down, make that point a little bit more obvious. This is our position at the 45-degree angle above shoulder width. This has to go to the side of the tip of the sternum. This location, my scissors need to be redirected. I took this piece of his front chest, then this is to be put, so are the tibia scissors from where we shave to where we don't. We make a 45-degree angle. The most convex part of it, that's where the tip of my sternum is. We also open one of this type first. Then you need to take a side look at our position, right? Then go to the circle. So now he has both the top chest and the bottom chest. Then our breasts are round. He can't be this sharp. It's just that this position is where the tip of my sternum is. I'm going to cut into a line that is horizontal and vertical from the ground. This is also vertical. Then this is also a vertical one and a straight one. That is now the most convex part of my chest. So here it is. Okay, after ordering this one side of the chest, 2 sides, 3 sides, and then from the front chest to this plane on the side, I have to round it up. Therefore, this place belongs to the round face. Okay, it's 45 degrees above and 90 degrees in the middle. It's 45 degrees down here. I rounded. When we got here, my scissors started to push out, okay? 45 degrees up there. This is the inclined plane where he starts to unwrap the circle, okay? It's all done this way here. This is the round surface on the outside of the thigh. This side belongs to him. It's the position of the upper chest. So he must be a corner. It has to go round. It can't just be the same as here. So this is the side from here on out. Above the center surface. Start here. All belong to the previous part of it. Therefore, it must be completed. So now is this point where it's hand chest is separated? That's my leg. And this dividing line up there, after this point is done. I want to put the center surface of the leg, including its envelope and strengthen it again. Then be sure to go to the bottom. My scissors must clean the bottom again. Take this inside, because many beauticians end up here. It has to go in circles. In this way, the shape of my leg will not be deformed in the future. If you want to send it directly here and it's over, then when he was behind, all his hair will fall down. That's like this position.
Yeah.
Yes, this is 45 degrees. Face it, this is a round surface just in front of him. That's his chest. That's basically done. And when you're done, I'm going to do his insides, the inside of the front leg. Now the outer line and the inner line are completely horizontal. Then the lowest part of the chest is in this position. And then after booking this position, stand in front and fix the center surface in the middle of the inner side of the leg. Then the inner round surface is also removed together. Then the round surface on the outside. And when you're done, I have 3 sides. Trim it with 2 edges and corners. It's a 45-degree angle, and when you're done, the straight line on the front of my front leg, it's a straight line behind my front leg. They are both level. So I had to take this side again to see the straight line, to drive this straight line. The thickness of his front legs, the thickness, angle, just the thick shape. It should be the thickness of the front legs. It is the position below the knee joint to the hind leg and the knee fossa for reference. Elbow joint to the ground. It is vertical. It's the front of my front legs and the back of my front legs. It's the same. A horizontal line. Immediately cut its inner edges and corners to include its outer edges and corners. We're going to cut it into columns. Relatively speaking, the shape of the front legs is easier to cut than the hind legs, because none of it is wrinkled like the hind legs. It's just a straight one. We can cut a very straight column.